Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it. We got a light crew today. Even the sheriff's not here. Or one of his.
It is a light crew.
One of his sidekicks, or like we don't even have one of them. I don't even know if we should start, but we're starting anyways. I appreciate everybody for coming. I already said that once, but we'll say it again. Bill's gonna give us an opening prayer, and then Vicky's gonna lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear, kind and gracious Father in heaven, as we humbly bow before thee on this beautiful day, we petition thee, Father, that thou would look upon us, and that thou would impress and inspire our hearts and minds as we run this county to make good decisions and do what is necessary. Father, we recognize that the blessings and things that come from thy hand. This time we petition thee for water, as we know that's one of the things that's very important. And we pray that we may receive sufficient to manage our county and for all those involved to be able to continue to live and prosper. Father, we pray that we may be attentive, the elected officials and employees in this county, to the business of our county. May our minds be sighted towards the best interest of all citizens. May we have a reverence and respect for those who contribute to our county and our resources. And may we feel obligated to provide them those things that are necessary for their services. We pray for people throughout the world. We're so thankful for the government that we have, the freedoms that we have, and agents that we have, and we see many things that's happening, and pray for those who are in less fortunate circumstances, that things might happen, that they may improve their standards and their prosperity. That we're grateful for the standard of life that the county and the state and the country presents to the whole world. And may those examples be useful for everyone. Be with us this day as we travel, and our many employees are out taking care of the responsibility they have. That no harm or accident would befall them. We pray that in our travels, as we all are here and return home, that all would be well. And again, humbly, we're grateful for the prosperous circumstances we live in, the protection that thou hast given us, and ask these favors and blessings in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes. Anybody have any changes?
I have a couple changes. On lines 42 through 43, I think what I said is it should not last longer than 6 months instead of it would be 6 months. And then on lines 64 and 68, it's not EFG, it's Tech Legion. EFG is discussed later on during the meeting.
What about on lines 67 and 68?
Those should all be Tech Legion.
I've got a couple also. Okay, on page 5, like on line 118, were we talking about just one swim team or swim teams plural?
Swine, Vicky, 180.
That would be just, it's not necessarily a swim team, it's kind of like a
wasn't it like,
It's Fillmore's kind of a,
is it more of a practice?
Like their swim club.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a swim club.
So we can leave that
I-
as singular?
Yeah.
Okay. And then on line 119, explain that the swim program, should that be program or programs?
Which line are we looking at?
119? I didn't know if it should be program or programs.
I think I'd asked Bonnie about this, and I think she said it was relevant for East and West Millard, so I'm gonna assume it's plural.
Okay, so if it's plural, do we need a there and then systems or not? Should we wait until Bonnie's back to double check this?
Practically, I think I changed the heading of that ordinance anyway to just fees associated with the swimming pool. So once that ordinance is pulled, it'll show all the fees that are associated with the swimming pool. I think it's fine if for consistency's sake, if it needs to be plural, I think that's fine.
I didn't know for sure if it should be plural, and maybe, like you say, if for in the future, if it's on both sides of the county, maybe we should make it plural. So it works for any program that comes along. And then if we're gonna make it plural, we'll need to change it from its to their, right?
It's just a generic royal it's.
Okay.
So that is,
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And then, on line 124, was there a period there? I couldn't tell if I wrote it in or if it was
There
already.
is.
Okay,
There's one there.
okay. We're good.
Okay, got a motion?
I would move, if there's no other discussion, that the minutes of February 18th with the changes, Kayla, that you have, with those changes be approved.
I'll second that motion.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Monthly financial review.
Hi. So we met the 18th, I believe, of February with Commissioner Johnson and went over the financial review. It was pretty basic, like it usually is, except for that we included the semi-annual financial report. I don't know if you took a look at that to see how things are looking. Interest rates are looking good. All those CDs that came due that were, 0.2 have now been transferred and are sitting at probably a 4 point or a 3 point percent. So those CDs are looking good. So that
What
was
is the
pretty good.
current percent on most of them, you say?
2 or 3 and 4%.
3 and 4, better than 2.
Better than 0.2.
Is that higher
Some of
than
them were
point-
0.2. Yeah.
0.2?
So anyway, so that was interesting. That was, we do that twice a year, so that was interesting. The rest of the treasure stuff was really pretty basic. It's not
How
a
long
big
do you
tax year.
usually put them in place for? How many years?
Do you know what? Our financial advisor does that. We have several financial advisors that
So
are
what are
doing
they
that.
saying? What are they telling you?
And they are getting as long as they can, but
Okay,
some of them are a couple of years, some of them are just some months, depending on
A
what
few
they can
months?
get. Yeah.
okay,
'Cause,
all right.
yeah, anyway. But, so, yeah.
So who
look
is
through
our
that.
financial advisors?
Do you know what? We have several with Morton Investment and several with Science,
Okay.
so.
You use the banks that we deposit in, and basically do they have your approval, or do they just go ahead and do it?
I check with them every few months, so we
Okay.
consult, but pretty much
So we
they're watching
basically
it
just give them the authority
to take care of it. A lot of it's sitting in PTIF. PTIF's interest has been higher the last year than any of the CDs because
yeah,
PTIF is like right now.
gone up.
And CDs are looking to the future, so a lot of it's been sitting in PTIF.
So it's generally an employee or a contractor with the bank that makes those decisions for us,
Yeah, yeah,
and not you, and then we just okay them?
yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Do they ever make bad decisions, or?
I'm
sure they do.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. It's financial, yeah.
If
yeah.
they
They're
did, I'd
just
probably,
second
if they
guessing.
did, I probably wouldn't know anyway, so
Right,
anyway, thank you.
Yep, so, anyway. But as far as taxes, it's not a big tax collection time, so, pretty basic.
And I'm just here letting Christine take the lead this time since.
Pull your mic up so you can, so we can.
I'm letting Christine take the lead this time. If you have anything specific, I'll chime in, but.
I don't,
Okay,
Thank you.
are we good?
thanks.
Okay.
IGP waivers.
Okay, we have two, one for coach pitch at $40 and one for T-ball at $40.
Taking a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the IGP waivers, two for $40 each. Gonna second that? Oh, you wanna look at it?
Did you make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I second it.
Have a first
I wasn't listening, but-
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of a business license for Spotless Sweep LLC, owner Mackenzie M. Lovell.
And I have that here as well. All the signatures are good, so we just need
I'll bring that down there. What do they do? Spotless Sweep?
Commercial and residential cleaning.
Like businesses and houses or?
commercial business and residential.
Okay. So what do we need, a motion? or-
Yeah, need a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the business license for Spotless Sweep LLC, owner Mackenzie M. Lovell.
I second the motion.
Have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Discussion approval of funding for the American Legion Auxiliary Girls State Convention.
So I have that as well. I received an email from Sarah Richens, and she typed up this letter for me to read for you guys, just explaining what the program is. She says, the American Legion Auxiliary Girls State Program is the county's premier summer youth program designed to develop leadership and promote civic responsibility in young women. ALA Utah Girls State began in 1946. The program epitomizes ALA's mission to honor those who have brought us our freedom through our enduring commitment to develop young women as future leaders grounded in patriotism and Americanism. ALA Utah Girls State gives citizens an opportunity to participate in government at 4 levels: the city, the school board, the county, and the state level. Girls State consists of cities, counties, and 2 political parties. The political parties at Girls State are not meant to be representative of any current existing political party. Party organizing meetings, conventions are held on the city, county, and state levels to elect a chairman, vice chairman, and a secretary. These party officials then conduct nominating conventions on the county and state level. The government of Girls State is divided into 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. So these attendees will have a chance to launch campaigns and run for office, draft and debate legislation, learn public speaking and debate skills, actively participate in all phases of creating and running a working government, make friends with other students from different parts of the state, earn 3 university credit hours in political science 2920, which are transferable to other state-funded institutions, and elect student senators to represent the state at Girls Nation in Washington, D.C. This Girls State Convention will take place at Weber State University June candidates are interviewed by ALA officials in February, and the candidates were selected based on scholastic leadership and service accomplishment. They would like to send 5 ladies to the convention, which costs $500 per girl, and they request that half be covered by commission, so $250 per girl. And then they plan on having them come back August 5th to report and share their experience at ALA State with the commissioners. Thank you for your consideration in supporting these young ladies with the opportunity to increase their learning and understanding of our art. Sincerely, Sarah Richards.
I think it's a good program.
We have funded this in the past. I did a quick look at history. It has been supported from Fund 22 in miscellaneous projects. And last year there was just one girl who went, and we supported with $250, so same as what has been requested. So we have funded it before, and it should be in the budget.
So question, just, this is a high school, does this include, is this request for just Delta, and does Millard participate? Does Millard High School choose not to participate, or?
It's whoever is involved in the program and desires to go, they are then interviewed and then selected. So this isn't a Delta side, East side, it is a.
Okay, Sarah's over the whole school district then? So you could have some from each. This is the total from each. Okay. That's just the question I had. So they're both participants. They'll apply, and then the committee will select those who participate.
Interview them and then
Okay,
select
all right.
them.
If there isn't any other discussion, I will move that we approve the appropriation of $250
Per girl.
per girl.
I'll second that motion.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion and possible approval. Oh,
Commissioner Johnson, on the next one, Adam Richens called. He's on his way over. He's the Media Board representative. And he was
Okay.
wondering if on that 1010 discussion, we could postpone that until he gets here.
Yep. Nathan and Richard, are you fine going now?
Up to.
Okay, all
That way
right.
you can get done.
We could pinch hit for the 1010.
I don't think you may want to do that one.
Okay, we'll just,
The computer for anything?
no. We've got handouts.
So presentation of
Light
independent
reading
auditor
material.
for the Central
Supposed to
Utah
get to
County
bed at night.
Center.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to visit with us today. You know, it's interesting, I was sitting out in the audience and listening to you, and each of you have had the opportunity to be on our board, and we've thoroughly enjoyed the time with each of you there. Vicki, you're now on the board, and thoroughly enjoy having you there
I
as
enjoy
well.
working with you guys. You do a great job.
I bet your meetings went back to being longer than they were before I was the chair.
We can't comment on that.
I'm not the
Yeah,
chair.
Introduce yourselves into the mic so that we know.
You bet. So I'm Nathan Straight, I'm the director at Central Utah Counseling Center.
Richard Anderson, the CFO at the Counseling Center.
Yeah. So we're here just to present our independent financial audit. Every year, we're audited multiple times. This is one of the specific audits, and we're required by statute to come and report to each of the local commissions on the findings that were part of the audit. So let Richard present on that, and then we'll come back, and any questions you have about the center, we'll fill those. Richard?
Thank you, Nate. To start off with, want to express our appreciation, as Nate said, to all of you and Millard County as a whole for their help with administering and providing services for the residents of Millard County. If you'll start getting into the audit, page 3, the opinion statement for Kimball and Roberts, our auditing firm. Those first 2 paragraphs simply state that, you know, they've looked at our financial statements, and in their opinion, they believe they represent that those financial statements represent a true look at our financial position at the time they audited us. Any questions on that? I've kind of summarized that. It was quite a couple lengthy paragraphs, and and we kind of decided to condense that a little bit. Into the meat of the audit, if you'll turn with me, and we're going to go forward then backwards this year. So if you'll turn with me to page 44. So here's our combining statement, shows our revenues, expenses. If you look, I always like to start with the county's contributions. So $451,000, I believe it's line 6, is the county's contribution. So that's the total amount the counties are required to match our state funds with. So Millard County, so a total of that 451, 81,000 of that is from Millard County. So we use that money to match our state funds. Not every state dollar is required to be matched by the counties. We tend to try to be judicious in working with the state on which funds need to be matched by the county. You can see our state contracts, 3.4 million. That is a larger number than normal, and that 451,000 is not 20% of 3.4 million. So we have been getting some ARPA funds and some one-time funding for different projects. That's why that number is much higher. From there, we take our county and state dollars and match our Medicaid dollars. The net operating revenues, as you can see, 11,700,000. So that's our total operating revenues. So we're able to take I should have mentioned that the 3.4, right below it, the 7.8 is the Medicaid dollars. So we use those state and county dollars to match the Medicaid at 7.8, and then we come to a total revenue of 11.7. So with that, one thing that was expected this year, if you look at the change in net position, negative 2.2 million. So we just completed a 12,000 square foot facility in Richfield, and as we completed that project, we had CIB funding. It was pre-COVID funding, pre-inflation funding, and we needed to pull some money out of reserves to complete that building. So this is the backwards part. If you'll go with me to page...
How much did you pull out of reserves?
I'll get to that. If you'll go with me to page 9. So you can see in 2024, contributions to Sevier County MBA, 1.7 million. There was also another 163,000 that we paid prior to this. So we pulled, Commissioner, with your question, we pulled $2.2 million out of reserves for last year. The majority of that, about 2 million of that being to complete the building.
What is your total reserve?
Currently, I would have to pull that up. We're around 4 million right now.
Okay.
We were around 6.
You took a big chunk of it then.
We took a large chunk. It used to be, and Commissioner, I think you'll remember,
Well, I'm not sure I'll remember.
Okay.
That's a nice compliment.
Okay, I'll continue to compliment you that way. I'm sure you'll remember that it used to be that 2 million was kind of our target reserve fund, and the reason we need reserves, not only for this, but runs on inpatient can be very costly for us, $1,200 a day, $900 a day, depending on the hospital. So we need to have those reserves to be able to operate there. It used to be that 2 million was our target reserve amount. Nathan and I are both more comfortable with a $4 million to $5 million reserve. And so we're actually with COVID and the PRISM changes. PRISM is Medicaid's enrollment system, and it's new, and it rolled out in April of 2023, and it's been nothing short of a problem for the entire state. And so we're working through that. We're expecting about $1 million payment from them coming up. So financially we're still in great position, even though we pulled this $2 million out of here.
Okay, thank you.
The end of the audit, if there's no more questions on that combining statement. Page 53 and 54. So the auditors are required to look at 4 items from the state auditor. They look at budgetary compliance, public treasurer's bond, and fraud risk assessment and Utah retirement system. So they have to look at those. The top of page 54, they offer their statement on those and every other portion of this audit. The results of our auditing procedure disclose no instances of noncompliance, which are required to be reported in accordance with the state compliance audit guide. So no instances of noncompliance. We're 100% compliant with this audit.
So, I guess explain on page 51, a deficiency in internal control exists. What does that mean? That was a note they had, I guess.
That's just the definition of a deficiency in internal controls. It's saying when the design or operation of a control does not allow management or employees to, in the normal course of performing their assigned functions, to prevent, detect, or correct misstatements in a timely basis. That's,
Okay.
they're giving the
They're giving
definition
the
of that.
definition of
It's
that.
not
Okay.
that we had any deficiency there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Richard. Every time, it's nice to be able to come and present this to the commissions. We've got incredible staff. Richard does a fantastic job of overseeing the financial side of things. This audit specifically really falls in Lynette's lap, and each of you know Lynette Robinson. And she does a fantastic job. The auditors kind of joke with her that she's got kind of a holster with every report that they need, and she's just really quick to pull that right in away. This is right here. And she's right on the ball. She will be retiring here
About a year from now.
Yeah, so we will miss her, but we do have a transition plan to where Julie, Lynn, each of you know Julie, will be taking over here. She's been in a kind of a training program for the last two and a half years at this point. And so we're hoping that holster in her hip will continue to happen, and we'll be able to continue to report clean audits to the commission. Questions?
How many counseling, I know I've been told this, how many counseling centers are there in Utah?
There's 13 different.
13 different
Yeah,
districts?
behavioral health centers throughout the state that are kind of funded as prepaid mental health organizations. And so as a result of that, they are.
Does
it
the
is
same
all over the
auditor
state.
do all of them?
No,
You have a different auditor?
yeah, but they're each required to look at the same things. And that our auditor does a couple of different PMHPs, as well as a lot of counties and cities throughout the state.
Okay.
So they're kind of experts in looking at government and the way that we do things. They've done ours for a number of years at this point, so they understand where we're at.
So, looking at the future, I think we got a good history of what's in the past with, obviously, from the federal government, state government, there's changes. What's your anticipated future?
That is a great question.
And the reason I would ask that is, obviously, the counties are the one that's signed the note, and if we don't continue to get the same, are we in a position we can sustain what we've built and did without increasing the county participation?
Yeah, the county participation is based on statute and what the state gives us. We have no control over that. You're talking about the 20% match is what you're talking about. And so you are familiar with that process and
A
how
little bit.
that works. But we have no control over that. Obviously, during a big recession, it would hurt and affect all of us, particularly on the county side.
Yeah, if anything happened, I mean, the state could easily change that match, and that would,
The legislature would have to do
the
that, yes.
legislature could change it, and that would affect us
Yes.
quite a bit.
Yeah. But your question is a valid one, particularly with all the language coming out of DC at this point, with, the whole budgeting
Who knows?
process. And, yeah, so who knows? I wish I had my crystal ball.
No, we don't.
Commissioner Johnson, do you have yours? 'Cause I really wish you'd look in
I think it's
it.
gonna be great.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're we don't know what to
Yeah.
anticipate. And that's one of the reasons why Richard talks about our reserves and how fundamental they are, that we can continue for quite a period of time, being able to fund, to do the things we need to do while we pivot and try to look at other resources if we need to.
And just Nate mentioned the recession. It's interesting for us, if the economy, turns a little bit slower, then generally there's a few more Medicaid eligible people, and we're paid based on number of eligible Medicaid people in our area. And so that's an interesting dynamic for us, as sometimes maybe the economy for other businesses isn't very good, but for a local mental health authority that's paid based on Medicaid eligibility, that sometimes is a beneficial thing for us. I'll also mention, you noticed I was double duty there on a call with Utah Medicaid. They happened to mention, and Nate may have heard me groan just a little bit, we have a request in through Utah Medicaid to federal Medicaid, and Utah Medicaid reported that the federal Medicaid has kind of gone quiet with them. They're not responding to anything. The new administration is changing things quite a bit, and so we'll have to just see how that irons out. There definitely is going to be some changes. We're confident that our funding is going to be secure as we move forward.
Well, I would assume, I don't know, I'm like you, I don't know, but going forward, that we would probably have a greater chance of having less Medicaid eligible people, because that's where they would start reducing, and they get talking about ability to work and stuff like that. That's probably where the change would come, and we would end up with less, really. I don't know compared to everybody else, but
Yeah, we don't know what the end product is
if
going
they
to be.
do
but there's-
anything, they will restrict it probably farther.
Yeah, the reality is there
How
are
do
people
we
that
know?
need services, that need the help.
Yeah.
And the numbers, and whether they fluctuate up or down, will be here to be able to meet the needs of the counties.
I'll just say this, I was there for a while, these other commissioners been there for a while, and I think you do a great job. I respect what you're doing, and I have trust that you're making as good a decision as you can make, so, thank you.
I appreciate that, Commissioner.
I don't have any questions.
No, maybe either. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we'll see you. Have a safe ride home.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of the META board proposal for distribution of the Rural County Economic Development Grant. Then, do you two gentlemen, do you want to sign in real quick? Just right there on it. Thank you. Morning, Colin.
How are you guys?
Great, how are you?
Good, we're here.
Made it, Adam?
I had to abide by all the traffic laws that are important for our safety.
Well, I did get pulled over the other day.
You did?
Yeah,
You didn't get a ticket.
I did get a ticket.
You made him give you one, so it wouldn't look suspicious.
No, no.
You actually,
I
you
think
was
he
in
thought
second.
I think he thought I was lying, because I said I was coming from county meetings, and I really was. Still gave me a ticket. Good for him.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess I'll give a quick background of it. I know you guys are a little bit aware of it, but we'll just give a quick background. I'm here representing Outdoor Ops, right? We're the company that has us put the proposal in through the META board. One of the owners there.
What's the company again?
Outdoor Ops is the name of the company. Yeah, sorry. My name's Colin Christensen. I'm the owner there at Outdoor Ops. We do business under Predator Armor. We're a body armor company. We have been working with the META board for the last, it's probably been 6 to 8 months on this kind of application and proposal, going back and forth with them, massaging that to their desires of what's best for the county. Number-wise, value-wise is also like what that money's going to, things of that nature with the META board for the last few months. They approved that and recommended that to you guys as a commission board. And so we're here to kind of discuss that on their recommendation. The recommendation was approval for $160,000. Most of that earmarked towards equipment, in which Obviously, through those discussions, we've discussed of equipment that will come to help grow and build economic growth within the county through our private business. And so we're here to discuss that today. Just to give you guys an idea, Predator Armor, we just built our new warehouse just on the outside of Delta. Our investment in that project is about $2 million currently that we've invested to be here in the county. With that, within that new warehouse, we are ready to bring in equipment and have some substantial growth as a company. It's been one of our limiting factors up to this point. With that new building, we're ready to have that growth, and this equipment is a help and a big step towards that. And so that's what the $160,000 is earmarked for. That specific amount, the META board had felt that was a good amount that didn't take everything out of that grant fund, but also was enough to truly help start growth now, right? Those equipment coming to our warehouse will bring jobs instantly upon arrival, as well help us scale into larger government contracts in the body armor space that can allow us to have a lot of growth in the near future, we feel, with those pieces of equipment. So that's kind of high level, the proposal that the META board has recommended.
I'll maybe add to that just for a moment. So the funds for, or the funds that were being proposed for distribution come from the Rural County Grant. And so every year, again, this, I know you're aware of this, but for the sake of the public who might be listening, every year the county receives $200,000. And it is it's pretty specific, and there are contract terms that we receive that under. I'm just going to read from our own contract, just the first paragraph, talking about the general purpose. The Rural County Grant Program is intended to empower rural county governments to manage their own economic development opportunities and to take responsibility for planning projects and activities that will lead to improved economies, and is designed to address economic development needs, which may include business recruitment, development and expansion, workforce training and development, and infrastructure and capital facilities improvements for business development. So we have worked out, it's a longer list of items, but as a META board, the breakdown that we've committed to is that of that $200,000 that we would receive, we have three major goals, and the $170,000 of which would be spent on improving infrastructure for business development, including new equipment, building expansion, new road development, existing road improvements, power access and capacity, including renewable energy, water infrastructure, sewer and septic capacity. That we would also have $30,000 earmarked specific for workforce development efforts. And then, I apologize, I'm working off of a phone. Let's see, budget. I apologize, my page is cut off. So, and I'll have to go back and print that and revisit it. So in effect, we have the opportunity to identify those things which will be helpful to our local communities. And we have evaluated a number of criteria. So in approaching this, we came up with an application form where we would look at the types of jobs, the types of businesses, the opportunities, and then we would rank them based on how closely they met the different objectives and criteria for the grant, as well as for our economic development efforts. So as we've ranked those, we've had a couple different projects, and we hope that we can do a really good job of letting the county residents know that these funds are available. We expect it to be competitive. It has been competitive thus far, and to let them know that there are opportunities. In the discussion with the other board members, as we evaluated and considered what would be the most beneficial use of those dollars, we were looking at what would create jobs. That was really one of the biggest criteria. I think that we ranked that one actually the very highest. And in discussing those, we considered also how much funding we have. And if we were to bring in multiple companies, similar to what Mr. Christensen has brought in. And if they were to make similar proposals, could we fund additional projects in a similar way? And on an ongoing basis, with the funding that we have received, we actually could, and we would hope to have other opportunities similar to it. His project actually crossed over into almost every one of our objectives. So this is a closely aligned project with what the grant dollars are earmarked for, what we receive them for. And again, this is intended to be a grant. This is a grant that the county administers and spends those dollars specific for what the county would want to see for economic development. So it's not a loan. It's also not quite a gift, because these are all of our collective tax dollars that have been collected and then are distributed back for the discretion of the county to see where they can best be spent to benefit the group. So, but yep, I don't know if there's questions. I apologize for having that abbreviated portion.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's a grant and not a loan. When I was there overseeing, they were always talking about it being a rotating loan.
So there's a couple different funding mechanisms. So the grant dollars would actually go out, whether or not that area becomes set up, and there's some we did create a study area. There could be a tax increment financing component where dollars would come back through from tax increment. That's not finished and that's not obligatory. The grant dollars, that's in the we're working on it bucket. Ultimately, any type of a loan program or an ongoing financing program will take additional measures, and so that's a to be continued. But we do anticipate that we'll have those opportunities as well.
So do all the members on the committee know that it's a grant and not a rotating loan?
That was,
I
yeah.
just know when I was there, they were always talking about rotating loan.
Yeah, that was one of the points of discussion at the last meeting. It was very, very clear. And also, along those lines, it was expressed that we've had several years accrue of those funding dollars, and as we earmark those, we have committed to where those dollars will be spent. And so, for consistency with our contract, we actually do need to spend those the way we've said that we would spend them. And so, initially, we're tied to basically granting funds. In future years, we can alter what that looks like.
Yeah, I'd just like to be able to help as many companies as possible.
And I believe when we were talking numbers, and Colin, you'll have to correct me on this, so most of this would go towards funding a cutter, it's a water jet cutter?
Yeah, plasma cutter.
Plasma cutter, sorry.
Plasma table.
I know it's for cutting, and also a large press. And I believe that there were 6 jobs approximately that would be.
Yeah. So currently we outsource those two items, which are large items for us on a manufacturing one. We need more space to do that. We have that space now. So yeah, instantly there would be 5 to 6 jobs created just from bringing that in-house and doing that ourselves, right, with that equipment. But that also obviously allows us to scale to larger revenues and job creation more quickly by doing that in-house as well. We can scale a little better.
We're really looking for a return on investment dollars from where the grant money gets spent. We want to see jobs created out of it, not just fund things that are nice to have.
So would infrastructure service better to spend this money on?
Sorry, what was the question?
Would infrastructure service better to spend this money on?
So,
To where we support and
Yeah.
help multiple businesses and not just one?
and in some instances, I would say yes. So the current proposal is for a business that is able to expand within its own footprint. There's also additional property around it that it could eventually grow into, but it's also part of a much larger area, which we foresee being industrial. And so as any growth happens in that location, it becomes more attractive for other businesses. So there's some benefit to seeing anything good happen in that location and draw other additional businesses in.
But there's no infrastructure there, though.
But additional infrastructure will be needed to realize the full build-out of any of that property. And so in the discussions, there have been You have water is one of the topics. For short term, they've come up with some solutions that will allow for some growth. And then long term, there's some things that would be needed. Ultimately, they would need to be on municipal water, or that area would need to be served by municipal water to really have a large build out. There's also a recommendation from the board that $60,000 be provided or spent on the water piping to accomplish that. That's one of the obstacles that's been identified to having that area eventually be annexed and served by the city water. So specifically, yeah, we do see some need for infrastructure to really grow that out. I know that there's short-term and long-term benefits from both approaches. We kind of have to make some good things happen maybe before we can even justify or attract some of those larger investments. But they're not mutually exclusive.
Well, and that's what I just want to make sure to meet the board, and I guess I'm making your recommendation back to them, that we also got to be thinking out too.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a little short-sighted, maybe not.
Mhm.
But I don't know if there was a lot of thought into, and I'm not even just saying that part
Sure.
of the property. Infrastructure to me would go further.
Yeah, actually, I would actually take the argument that there's been considerable thought into that. Initially, to bootstrap something and to build out an entire infrastructure that will be needed for that entire area would be incredibly expensive. And some of that will have to happen through returning dollars on investments. That's going to happen in stages where somebody comes in, develops a business, they are able to operate and justify additional investment. And then as we reach threshold levels where another business might come in, we would be able to help with incremental steps. But in order to provide all the infrastructure at once, we're probably not able to fund enough of that to really solve all the problems. It really is, let's get something that's successful and build off of that, and then try to lower those obstacles for the future businesses as they come in. It's not an either or. It is accomplishing the objectives, but it is going to be incremental. That there's no way we can fund everything all at once.
Well, and so that brings me, well, first off, have we actually had a recommendation from the META board?
Yes. Yeah.
60,000 for that water project. It was 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
I know,
So-
but have we actually had a recommendation for this project?
Yes. Yes.
Like an official one?
Yeah, voted on, yep.
I know, but they came and recommended
Oh.
it to us. Because I thought
Sure.
this was a recommendation, and it's not, it's a proposal, and I'm fine with, but
Let me.
we haven't received an official recommendation that this should be the project.
I think perhaps we might be able to do a little bit better at formalizing what has
Yeah.
occurred then. So the META board formally does make the recommendation that these dollars be spent. This was voted on, it was an action from the board. How that can best be presented to this board is really open to how you would prefer. Obviously, there might be some more formal communication that would facilitate clarifying that, if you'd like that in a letter or email or, but yeah, that is a formal recommendation from the board.
The one you just gave us is the formal
Yeah.
recommendation.
It is.
If
yeah.
you're representing the board and you say that they voted on it, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it.
And the minutes will reflect that. We're a subset of this public body, so we try to be very transparent.
You're coming to me, so.
Well, see
So
what
we
your
can,
thoughts
so
are.
we can have a discussion. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Adam. I don't know how much time you want to take. I hope not much, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion and explain that motion. I have no intention. In the last week, I've had discussions with applicants out of meeting. I've had calls from META board members, and I have also taken the initiative to take time and talk to some city council members, and although that's kind of off the table, their opinions about what happened, I think, plays into all this. I would just say this, that this has become a confusing situation because it is of no fault of anyone. I really like what our board is doing, and we are kind of in the embryo stage. We got a lot of things to figure out. I think the board made the decision, there was no other, and this is something we need to be better at. We need to be better at looking at other things, getting the information out that we have. And so, in attempt to try to move us forward in the best way, and the META board doing their due diligence, I would not criticize the board in any way, and Colin, I appreciate the fact that obviously these things have been brought before the board, and the board has been working on it. Half the board was brand new to this first meeting, and that's no excuse to do or not to. But I would not pretend to make decisions for those people. They made the decision, they were sitting there, but half of them was not privy to anything that went on. And half of them had never been privy to the discussion of, the question was asked whether we should finance it or what. So this is no excuse, this is just fact, and affects what we're doing. The potential, and Adam says, for developing some infrastructure, that would be a great way forward, but we're prohibited from doing that right now because we can't get any agreements with anybody else. Our hands are tied, and so basically look at that. I'll just make the motion that we approve half that, 80,000 of the 160, and we go forward, and I only arrive at that, I think that is a way that we can all keep going. I don't want to take away any incentive from any companies in keeping going. I don't want to take away any incentive from the board. And talking to all these people have no criticism, but going into the future, an underlying cause of all this is the emotional rift in our counties and everything else. I object to all that belonging. I'll just say that. The decision should not be made on emotional rift. The decision should be made on how we use those dollars and how we advantage the most people by using those dollars. Now, I'm not saying that this was not a good decision. I just think this is the best way to move forward. And there's one thing I want to emphasize, that as we move forward, because we did something, does not prohibit in any way, shape, or form from Colin or anybody else coming back to a project. So you're going to reevaluate again, but Colin, if your project's better than the others with the money, then you need to be at the table. So we're not prohibiting anybody. I'll just say, even though we got quite a few resources, there's no question about that. This appropriation was, obviously we don't have 200 because we have to pay some consultants and everything else. But if we only had 1 year's appropriation, this appropriation was 100% of what we got. And I think it would be in the intent, maybe not, that's going to be the board's responsibility, but that it might be shared a little more and see if we can find some shared benefit. Now, I'm not 100% sure we can do that in working under the circumstances. We got landowners out there, we got neighbors out there, we got businesses out there, we got the city, and we got the county, and this is not easy, getting all them together. So there's a lot of people that's got their hand in this pie, and it becomes difficult, but I want to keep these projects going. My intention is not to damage them, it's keep them going, and we need to continue to work with these landowners, businesses, and everybody else to see if we can come to the best results. I think we can do that. This project's new, and I think we're just starting out, and hopefully this would help us fill our way. So I would move that we give them
I'm gonna
80,000.
pause your motion for a second, Bill, because I have further discussion after you've talked a little bit.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, well, we can discuss, go ahead.
So,
Yeah,
giving a little bit, and everybody knows my feelings on this, but giving a little bit to a bunch of people is worse than giving something of significance that somebody can actually do something with. And so my question is, well, if you give Colin $80,000 and he needs 130 at least to buy one piece of equipment, then we just granted him $80,000 that he can't do anything with except sit on it like we've been sitting on it. And so that's just a thought I'm having as you're stating that. Just because if we're gonna give money away, you better be able to do something with it if you can't do anything with it. And so I guess the question would be, how much you need for one piece of equipment? And that's if I'm gonna play mediator between where I stand and where Bill is and where you guys are. If we are gonna give a certain amount, then they've gotta be able to do something with it, and we can't give them short of something that they can't do anything with at all. Because my eyes, it's gotta be a big project, or somebody's gotta be able to do something with it. Giving a little bit to 20 companies or 30 companies isn't gonna do anything. You're not gonna get any economic development from that, period.
Have there been many requests for this grant money?
We've had a handful, but no, there hasn't been a long list.
And Bill?
We
you
need to do a
said-
better job with the public. That's one of the things, I mean, we're not a PR organization, and we just haven't been able to get enough interest and so.
So I hadn't received any calls from cities or people that
I
were
talked to the
upset.
city members, I received calls from media and of course calling and chatting with them.
And were people upset?
Well, there's always this tiff between, that's been there since I've been here, about annexation. And
So that's
you know,
mainly what
I
it
mean,
was
we can
about?
go- Yeah, there's always this about how do we do this, and the city at one time, gosh, I can't speak for them, thought yes, and then they got a lot of reasons, they've got their feelings hurt, like no, and then we have property owners, I mean, why would you annex it if we don't have some commitment from property owners that they're gonna willing to do something? I mean, they're saying, so we go out there and annex like 1 acre or what, you know, they gotta have, so there's this whole hodgepodge of people that's got to get together, and I don't know whose responsibility that is, and to make something like that happen.
I'm working on scheduling a meeting.
I will, if I give a
That's-
little input, right, like, I agree with all that, right? I've had good discussions with it. The big thing on a large-scale commercial development project is, really, in the end of the day, you're gonna have to have a private developer come and stick their neck out and risk their money, right? In cahoots with the city and the county, right? Everyone's gotta help with that, but ultimately, I think, in the end, right, there's gonna be a private developer of some sort that's gonna use a lot of their own funds, as Adam said, right? Millions of dollars to try to do a full development out there.
Yeah.
Right? There's gonna have to be a private business that sees that as an opportunity for them to make money, to come and work with the county, right? And within maybe a grant like this to help some of that, right? But there's gonna have to be a private developer that decides that land's worth it for my money to go and try to do that, right? Which, again, like, as you say, Commissioner Wright, there's a lot of moving pieces on that chunk of land developing to a large scale. I think in phases, to Adam's point, I think there's possibility, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that somebody's gotta put together, but one of the things, and, you know, before is, we perceived at one time that the city might help with water, that would be a good place to put somebody to get water there. One of the prohibiting factors out there for any expansion is water, we know that in the county, so if we could get that, but the city now has all kinds of reasons why they won't do that, there's some ways to do it, maybe without annexation as a special service district and some things like that. Adam, I don't know if we want to get in this, you know, they already got a problem with, out to the res because it's not in compliance, because they, by state law, they had no authority to take water out. It's a long discussion, I guess, Commissioner, and so there's lots of other players in this that have threw a lot of wrenches in that, and that's why I'm trying to figure a way to move forward and be productive.
No, that's what
And to Trevor's thing, I totally agree with Trevor. If it's more useful to give 100 or whatever, then I'm fine. I think that the money needs to be very useful. So we didn't get that answer.
No, and that's,
So I'm good to do.
getting back on track is,
Yeah.
I think one of the,
I just feel like we've had a lot of money sitting there for a long time and it's not getting used, and we do need to use it. And I was just curious if there's a lot of people wanting to use it. If not, you know, and I don't know if they fit the criteria, but we definitely do need to try to start using this money in a good way.
it is intended to be spent that same fiscal year. We've had some rollover and some carryover, but it isn't intended to build up as a large fund.
it's been rolled over.
We've rolled over a lot of it in past years.
Yeah, we need to use it.
So this, the board in discussion has seen this as something that does align with the bigger vision of developing out the area, and that while this doesn't accomplish all that's needed for the infrastructure, it is a step in that direction, and it's consistent with having additional growth in that area that would eventually build up and support and justify additional investment so that they can continue to develop it out. We don't quite have enough to go all at once, but this is consistent in the direction that it's going, and it would enable the business to also self-fund some of those additional improvements that will be needed.
See, there's a lot of options as you go forward. They can do part loan and part gift. They can do a variety of different stuff, which we just haven't been up to speed long enough, I think, to see the vision of the potential. We have a lot of potential. We're just getting there.
We hope to get really good at this over time.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to start somewhere, that's for sure.
I'm not pointing my finger at it. It's just a culmination of the events. It's made hard. I'm very supportive of moving forward for the county, for being able to utilize that. We don't need that kind of money sitting down, and just try to get the way that everybody can benefit from it and satisfy the current circumstances that we have. So the question, I maybe go back
Yeah.
on,
And-
Commissioner Johnson, you asked the question, how much is enough? What, is there another figure besides that's enough?
Well, I don't
So,
know how much the equipment costs, Bill.
Initially-
That's a question for me. That's a question.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
And-
answer that, right? Through the months that we've been working with the META board, right, that has been the discussions. A lot to your point, Commissioner Johnson, of what's enough to move the needle, but not enough to drain this account to not allow other businesses, right? That's been a lot of the discussion. That 160,000 was a number that we didn't just throw out there, right? I mean, we have, through this proposal, through the META board, we have to give them actual quotes and everything for specific items, right, on that. That 160,000 is to cover strictly a plasma cutter and our large press. It will not cover all of that cost, but it will cover most of the cost for those two equipments to where we can self-fund the rest, right, to get those in quickly. And that's where that 160,000 came from. That was a derived number from those discussions of exact costs, right? For those to be sitting in our shop that, you know, within the next month that we can hire people to start using and scaling with, so.
If we were looking at all the areas of the project that do align, I don't have the totals, I'd call them, I don't have them either, but as far as the cost of power that they've incurred to put in power and roads and the water systems that they do have thus far, there have been very substantial costs that they've absorbed, and those were considered as well, and then the equipment was really where the discussion, that was the justification. But even the other areas would have been eligible and are specifically in line. But the discussion wasn't to fund everything, but rather to scale that back to
Adam, you haven't
be
issued
meaningful.
an occupancy permit yet, or?
Well, that's a really good question.
And
And it's a great,
I
I'm
got
glad to say,
another sidebar about
Yeah.
fire protection.
yeah, I'm glad to say that I did
That's a
issue,
big cost, that isn't,
I-
and so that's the question.
I did issue a temporary C of O.
It has been a big cost.
And so they're finalizing the water storage on site.
How
And
much
so,
do you have to have, Colin?
We have a 20,000 gallon tank that's going to be sitting outside.
220?
20,000.
Just one
and
20,000?
Shane will have additional. So there's going to be,
Is there a different requirement for that building versus Shane?
it's based on,
Because that
it's
building's bigger than Shane.
based on cubic area, cubic square footage, and then also what's in it. There are a few factors that go into the calculation.
Well, that's a pretty good
So-
cost right there.
Yeah,
So, can I make a recommendation real quick for the next time?
please, yeah, no,
So if we want to have discussions on, okay, we don't want to give you all, but we want to make sure you get enough for what you may deem a priority. Bring the paperwork that says, hey, this is how much the plasma cutter is, how much the press is, how much, you
Sure.
understand what I'm saying?
absolutely. Yeah.
So if we do decide to, cut back, we know how much to do. And that's just a recommendation for you to take back to the board.
Thank you, I will take that back, of course.
Because of that.
Along those lines, in the future, how would you like the board to bring the formal recommendations to this body? Because,
I personally, I just think instead of Colin starting out, it should have been, hey, we're here to present and recommend Colin and his project. This is, instead of Colin talking first, I figured. Now, we all knew
Okay.
about it because of the grapevine.
sure. Okay.
Maybe you
Thank
could bring the application where they've got all the information written on it. And
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I think, Adam, this is circumstances. I've really appreciated planning and zoning because the planning and zoning has been intact a long time. And you have learned what to vet in planning and zoning before it comes here. The little complication we have now is that's a process we can get better at. I mean, I'm not pointing my finger, but
sure.
you know as well as I do that we have to make those, it's the same process. In every time we can, and the best way to go forward is we have a committee functioning, and that committee vets all these things we're talking about, so that we don't have to have these discussions here that they have time to have. I think that's the best process, because this is new. We haven't done, you got 4 new board members. Colin's probably the first one that ever went in, other than we did some education things. So the whole thing's new. The process will get a lot better. And to the other 2 commissioners, I've made a motion. I'm willing to amend that motion if you feel that there's another number that will move us forward better and be more helpful. I'm just trying to get us to the end, get the water in the room. I'm willing to amend that motion if you can give me a number you think's better.
if the META board thinks 160 is what is needed, I mean, they've looked at it, I haven't. Hopefully they deliberated a little bit and discussed it. And
took a few meetings, actually. Yeah.
And just so you know, I am setting up a meeting, so if you'd let the meeting board meeting know that the week of the 17th, I'm gonna try and get everybody together.
Oh, great.
so I guess, do you want to amend your motion, or you want me to make a new one?
If you like to make a substitute, that's fine.
I'll make a substitute motion that we take the META board suggestion and award $160,000.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
You're supposed to be smiling.
I'm smiling. This has been a process. I do appreciate you guys, though. Thank you.
I know, it's been a long process,
Yeah,
because
appreciate
when
it.
I was on the board, it took a while to get stuff done. So I'm just glad things are happening.
Okay, public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on zoning ordinance map amendment application Z 2025-06, requesting to change the zoning of 17 acres of property located approximately 17175 South Highway 161, Code 4, from range and forest to highway commercial. Jose Ismael Moya, I'm sorry if I get your names wrong, and Jose Ismael Moya Sanchez, applicants.
Do we need to open public meeting?
Yeah, we do.
I make a motion that we go into a public meeting,
I second. Public hearing.
public hearing, sorry.
Well, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Jose's, that's all, I'm just gonna call you, both of you,
Yeah,
Jose.
Jose,
Okay.
this is my dad, his name is also Jose. so
Okay.
You can call him Luis and Jose, so
Okay.
there won't be any
All right.
confusion. And we're a company, a diesel company, like mechanics from Salt Lake, and we're just trying to find a new spot, cause Salt Lake is already crowded with the city development and stuff. So we just wanna move our shop like further away, where we can like, expand or, well, have another place to start
Yeah.
working, yeah.
So you're gonna kinda keep working up in Salt Lake and,
Yeah, we have our shop right now in Salt Lake, but, they're gonna develop the area, so we need to find another spot, and we've been looking around, and, right over here, Concord was the best spot,
okay,
yep.
okay.
It's nice to have diesel mechanics around, so that's good.
Yeah, it's semi-trucks.
Yeah,
Good.
diesel shop,
Well,
So-
there's I-15 there, so you should
yeah.
get
it's
quite a bit
perfect
of,
spot, yep.
yeah.
I was in the planning and zoning when they petitioned the planning and zoning. It's a great idea.
I think it's a
Appreciate
good,
people that want to
Honestly,
start businesses. This is a good thing.
it's an interesting spot for me, just because of the location and
Yeah, it's on,
you're not near the homes, but you got I-70 and I-15 right there.
yeah, 70 and I-15, yep.
You're either gonna make out like bandits or, struggle, one of the two, I don't know which one, but, cause I think it's a neat spot, I'm very interested to see how this goes.
Yeah, we hope so too, let's see how.
I hope it works out well for you.
It might start out slowly, but
Yeah.
don't give up.
Yeah, yeah, our business already been 20 years up in Salt Lake.
Oh,
but,
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, you've got a good reputation
Yep.
then. I'm assuming planning and zoning approved it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
There was a favorable recommendation from the planning commission. So this is one of the 20-acre, there's a number of 20-acre pieces that actually go right along the main highway, and most of the others at this point are zoned highway commercial. This is right up against those, and it's similar in nature as well as obviously the proximity, and so it kind of makes the most sense when we're saying, what could that property be used for, what's the best and highest use, as well as what's around it. And it's not over by the houses, it's definitely up along the road where there's potential to have commercial business.
So where is it at to like the exit and the gas stations? Is it on the
It's
east side of
close.
it?
It's mile 135, coming up north or south.
Okay.
It's like 30 minutes up here.
Okay.
And you take the right and the left, there's a Terrible's gas station, and
Yeah.
there's a Chevron, and there's like an RV camping area.
Okay.
So it's on the west side of the,
It splits north and south, so it's on both the north and the south side of the road.
okay.
Yeah, it shows 17 acres because the highway as it comes through that right of way takes 3 acres out. So it's a 20-acre piece that's cut with the highway, leaving 17 acres.
Yeah, that's
So-
cut it down to 17 acres.
No, I would move we close public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion possible adoption of ordinance 25 -3-4, an ordinance of the Millard County Commission changing the zoning of 17 acres of property located approximately 17175 South, Highway 161, from range and forest to highway commercial.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment application Z-2025-006 requesting a zone change for the 17 acres from range and forest to highway commercial.
I second it.
Have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. I guess you're the roll caller.
So I call for a roll call vote on ordinance 25-3-04. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyman?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good
Have at
luck.
it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody from Fillmore City here, but maybe we don't need to be. Discussion with Fillmore City regarding frontage roads in Fillmore and Class C funding.
I can just give you a little bit of an update. I don't know if you can see my computer screen right here. This is the north end of town, so the Terrible's gas station is right here. What they're hoping to do is take over this road, the frontage road, just northwest of I-15. But a question arose because county maps show that's located in the county, city maps show that's within the city. If it's not located within the city, it certainly doesn't make sense to be a Class C city road. If you'll,
Is it a county road then? or
it's a county road right now. It's, yeah, it's a county road right now. If you'll let me, I think there's probably an alternative. I think that the county and city could probably reach an agreement, because I think, it's my understanding, the city just wants to be able to address that road insofar as development is concerned, and I think we could probably work that out via contract rather than changing the classification of the road. Is that something that might be okay if that comes back to us for?
So do we know, is it on our county road inventory?
It is, yes.
So we're actually, so it's our responsibility. because
To maintain
if
it.
it's
Right.
on our inventory, then we're responsible to maintain it. So
That is
I
correct.
guess what is the issue then?
So I wonder if they
Are we
hope
not
to.
doing a good job? Is that the issue?
No, I mean, not to my knowledge. I think there's a question about perhaps expanding it, but they can't do that if the county's gonna be maintaining it, because then they're asking the county to maintain more than it currently is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we
So-
only have a responsibility to maintain it.
Right.
But the county the city wants it.
Yeah, the city wants to take it.
So would we not do that if they paid us? I mean, generally, we do work for the cities, inside the city, but the cost would be their extra cost. We do the main maintenance.
I think they're just wanting to make sure that it's mapped over to them, right? They don't want us to do any of the work, do they?
They do want it, but UDOT questioned the efficiency of doing that, since the county would have to continue maintaining everything north on the same road. So I wonder if Bill's proposal makes sense, if the county continues maintaining it and whatever is added in addition, maybe the city just contributes to that cost, if something like that can be worked out instead of changing the classification.
See, that's what,
Yeah.
well, with Delta, we do in-city roads, bag and stuff, and they just pay us for the extra cost. We have a certain level of commitment to do, and maybe that might work here.
Okay.
But after that, then, well, we would like this or that, then we would just actually go.
Okay, well, I will communicate with them, and then maybe they will make a proposal to the county. So I think probably for now, if this is just taken off of a future agenda until it's worked out, and then it can come back before the county commission.
Okay.
Okay.
Public input. Colin, you're the one left that's part of the public. Anything? Okay. Other business.
I don't know, this might fall under other business. Last time we talked about the road department surplusing a lowboy trailer to the county landfill. Anyway, there's been a disagreement, I guess, on how much they're charging the landfill, and I guess one of the VIN numbers that Bonnie was looking at was a different trailer. Anyway, I figure once Bonnie's back, we can get that all taken care of and figured out.
Well, they originally, this was through John, said it was 20 or 25,000. They got a bill for 30, and they called me and I talked to John. I says, what's it worth? And he says 20. So that's
And
probably-
Brandon says it's worth 35, so. And then he sent some pictures of other ones, similar ones that were selling for more than that. So I don't know what they finally decided.
Add that to the third-party assessment we're doing on the jail, okay?
We'll get that done.
Can you get us some help with that?
Yeah, I'll actually, we'll get.
I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to decide. One says it's worth 20, the other one 35.
I mean, we should be able to get an average, right? We'll just go out and look at what market value of that would be and find an average of that.
It should be
number.
pretty easy
Should
to
be
figure,
pretty
make
easy to do.
model.
So I'll follow up with that.
Okay, because Brandon says, hell, we'll just sell it and they can buy their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll follow up with it. I'll get with them and we'll get it.
Well, and
back.
also the landfill has one they've been using, and the plan was that we trade if we can find a price, and then the landfill would sell the one they have that's probably worth 10.
Yeah, Brandon said that.
So the
what-
difference
They
would be-
definitely need a different one over there.
Yeah.
Surplus property update? Okay, discussion and possible approval for the sale of transfer surplus property.
So we approved the IT manager vehicle to go to the Delta office. And we got them, the IT manager got a new Ford Maverick, but it is having engine issues, and so we're looking at it. It's just got an engine service light on, and so it's gonna get serviced.
The brand new ones?
No, that's not the brand new one. That's the one that's the old one that we
Okay,
were gonna
all right.
transfer over. Yeah, so you've already approved the transfer of that. But what we would like to do is actually take, Adam Britt's vehicle, which is, an Equinox, transfer that to the Delta office, and Adam and, Richard will use the Ford Maverick and this vehicle, the Escape, together until we figure out what's wrong with that. And then we'll either find a new home for that or surplus that once that's discovered. So we do have that, and then we have two of the sheriff's trucks have come back from being stripped down. We would love to transfer those to the road department, take two of the road department trucks, transfer those to the landfill, and then we've identified two of the landfill trucks that we'll surplus and sell. So we have all of the inventory numbers on those, and if you guys will approve that, we'll start that in motion and make that happen, so.
How many miles do those public safety trucks have?
You know what, 100 to 123, but it's really not the miles, it's the hours, right? The hours are always so much higher on those because they idle so much.
Nobody cares about their gas when they're in somebody else's car.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the issue, but.
Well, that's the issue.
But that's always, as we do assessment value on the sheriff's office vehicles, it's always the hours that are so high that lower the value of that, not the mileage per se.
Yeah, I forgot, we're talking about the sheriff's office. They do keep theirs running for a purpose.
Yeah.
Most other people keep them running because they're either hot or cold.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, they don't have overly high miles on them, but they do have overly high hours on them. But they are in better condition and better values than the trucks we are going to surplus out of the landfill. They've got multiple hundreds of thousands of miles on them, and so we'll just surplus those and sell them, and we'll move the road department trucks over and move the sheriff's office trucks to the road department if we can get that approval today,
So Vicki, did you not ask, did they put the consoles back in?
Sheriff said that they would find, or that they would get me a console. It wouldn't be the actual one that fits it, I mean, that, you know, is made for it, but it'll be one that takes the place of it.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
a third-party aftermarket one that they can get.
This is something, you know, we take the consoles out, and then 5 years later, we can't find
He
them.
said, though, that sometimes they get them and they don't have consoles, they
Yeah,
order
I'm
them
sure
in
they
without.
Yeah. So anyway, so that would be our proposal, so if you guys can just give us a,
And before I make a motion, I do want to say that, yes, the sheriff's office does have a legit reason to keep them
Yeah.
idling. They have to keep their equipment running.
yeah, that's right, so.
Anyway, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of the different trucks to the different departments.
Awesome.
I second it.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, you guys.
Various county boards. Kayla, nothing? Delinquent property tax. Okay. Discussion by commissioners, county attorney, elected officials, and secretary. BOE. On a roll, Vicky.
We were on a roll.
Gosh, Vicky.
So much for 11:30. Wasn't even my goal, but it did when we were so close.
I'll make a
Is this
motion
a
that we,
correction or what?
I make a motion that we enter BOE.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so what I have just handed to you is a list of accounts that have qualified for the nonprofit use exemptions. Every year, annually, we send to the property owners a continuing exemption form. We have sent those out this year. We have received, all have been returned except for the first one on the list, the Bible Baptist Church. I will be making attempts to contact them to see if they can have the exemption. So our intent today is to give you the list and give you the instructions for the continuing use exemption, and then you'll have time to review the list, and if there's any questions that you have, you'll have time to ask those questions, and then at next commission meeting, we'll approve the continuing exemption.
So you don't want a motion today?
No, we don't need one today. We just want to give you the opportunity to review the list. We have the continuing exemption forms. They've all returned them, that their use has not changed in the last year, and just that you're approving them. When they were first granted the use exemption, it was because they provided to the satisfaction of the BOE that they met the requirements for the religious, charitable, or education purposes for that exemption. And it is based on usage, not who owns it. So the owner is required to return that continuing exemption to us by March 1st. And we did receive all but the Bible Baptist Church. And then if you are going to revoke the continuing exemption, we need to provide that to the property owner before April 1st.
So is the Bible Baptist Church still eligible to qualify, or are they?
So some of the things that we've done in the past when we haven't received the exemption form back, you can grant the continuing exemption even though they haven't returned the continuing exemption form, just based on that. But again, we will make attempts to contact the pastor of that church and see if there has been a change in the use.
I guess they're still functioning, aren't they?
I'm not sure. I have some notes that they actually combined with the last one on the list, the Utah-Idaho Southern Baptist Convention. So there was talk of that last year when they filled it out. And so I'll need to contact those people and see if that is actually what happened.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it is still being used for services or if it's because they've merged together that it may be sitting vacant. And so that may need to be addressed. But since they didn't return the continuing exemption form, it's going to take some time to research that and make attempts to contact. It is the picture that is in our property tax program. It's just a little trailer. And so it's not in the greatest condition based on that picture that is years old, but we'll be making attempts to contact
Sounds
them.
good.
So, do you have any other questions about the
No,
list?
just an opinion, and I expressed it last year. We're in continued negotiations with Intermountain Healthcare for a variety of things, and so I'm not making no motion today, but unless I change my mind, when we make a motion, I won't approve the Intermountain Healthcare exemption, so.
Okay. You can review what they have turned in.
Okay.
And so that's why we'd like to give you that opportunity to review what's been turned in. And,
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
I make a motion, we close BOE.
I second it.
First and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. County policies.
None today.
Any closed meetings?
Yes, there is, under 524205 1C, strategy sessions to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation.
I move that we have a closed meeting for the purpose of,
Pending or imminent litigation, right?
for the purpose of litigation.
I'll second that motion.
First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll enter into closed session.
And for those listening online, do we intend to come back to
No, we will.
YouTube? We'll just end the meeting now. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just end the meeting now. We won't be coming back.